Welcome back to the channel. Thank y'all for hanging with me on this Monday. So color, obviously a really big deal in bass fishing, keeps the fishing industry alive and keeps your tackle box full. Sometimes you need it, sometimes you don't. The biggest thing with color is, can the bass see your bait? But if you're not fishing at night, you're not fishing under a mat or under a dock or in muddy water, that's probably not your biggest priority, and you want to skip that and go to matching the hatch, which is very good unless you don't know what the forage in your lake look like. So if you're traveling out of town or you're just not on top of what's going on your lake, you don't necessarily know, are the crawfish red or are they green or are they brown? You may not know what a bluegill looks like on your lake. They're different on every lake. You go here on Gunnersville, they have a real translucent purplish greenish look. You go down to Florida and they're dark. They're almost like a dark purple slash black sometimes. So it doesn't translate from fishery to fishery, water clarity to water clarity. Now, I will say there's a couple other ways to choose colors. Now, if you're fishing something like a frog, where you know the fish aren't getting a good look at it, it's on top of a mat of vegetation, they're really just seeing the track of the frog and they're not really getting a good look at the color, maybe a better option would be something that you can see. That's why you see some frogs that are black and yellow, black and white, where you can get a good look at the frog. Now, there's other situations where the bait manufacturers made one frog that didn't have any paint on it. It was called Smoke. It was made by Snag Proof. It was the softer plastic because it didn't have that paint on it that would harden the plastic like all the other black frogs and green frogs, or the bluegill pattern frogs. Now, if you don't know anything and where to start, you can also choose your bait color on the surroundings of it. So I talk about a dock or night fishing, dark colors, your black and reds, your black and chartreuses, your black and blues. If you have super clear water, but you know the fish are spending a lot of their time in the shade, you could go with a green pumpkin with some oranges and some blues. Probably not the color you would use if you were just going down a row of bushes, but if those fish are pushed back under the dock, you know it's low light, you can go something that's going to stand out a little bit more to them. Now, the other thing I really like to do is use my baits that are going to match the vegetation in the lake. So if you live on a grass lake or you're fishing a grass lake and everything in the lake is dark green, go with a dark green color, or go with a color that you can barely notice when you drop it in next to that grass. So just because you have bluegill that are a certain color and you have crawfish that are a certain color, if you take a strand of this grass off my trolling motor or off the front of the boat, I mean, that is a pretty dark green color. And then you look at this bait next to that. I mean, this is very subtle in that cover. Now, if you just look at this jig, you go, oh, it's got orange in it, chartreuse. There's nothing subtle about that. But when you're dropping it into eelgrass and hydrilla and coontail, it blends in really well. That's super natural for the fish. Also, if you have hydrilla mats and they cheese up when they die, they turn into what we call cheese, and it almost looks like a greenish yellowish color. This is another really subtle natural thing, and it's easy to see. So when you look at this, you go, that's chartreuse, lime green. There's nothing subtle about that. I've never witnessed a frog that color, but when you're fishing mats, this blends in perfectly. I can still see it because it's bright green. So when I'm bringing it through the dead part of the mat, the live part of the mat, it's really easy for me to pick up. I know when it's gone in a fish's mouth or when it's still on the mat and they've missed it and it's just kind of sitting there. So it's not always about knowing the forage. Sometimes it's about knowing the surroundings. But again, we'll start from the top. The key is, can the bass see it? Then you can go and make your colors more unique, more realistic, or more to get their attention, or be more subtle. All those things can work. You got to make it work for you. And it's not just about confidence. Over time, when you get a color that you really like, it's love. You begin to love that color, and you're not just confident in it. You're kind of obsessed with it, and you know when you lock it in your hand, you're going to catch big fish on it. So try that, guys. Good luck to you, and I'll see you on the water.